Man, I am so happy. I just pulled this meatloaf out of the oven, and this is absolutely the best meatloaf I've ever had in my life. Thanks to my friend Randy Golden, and I'm going to tell you all about it. And I'm going to tell you the secret that he told me that makes me love this meatloaf more than anything else. So stay tuned. We're going to start cooking in just a minute. Here's the secret to this meatloaf. A friend of mine taught me this recipe, Randy Golden, and he had some kids, as they were growing up. They would not eat meatloaf because of the onions and the peppers. Well, Randy had a brilliant idea, and I thought it was genius after he taught me. He took the onion, and we're going to use about a half of an onion, just cut it up into big chunks, and we're going to throw it over here into this processor. And we're going to do the same with the bell pepper. Cut that off of it. Cut it up into big chunks here. Nothing fancy, just cut it all up, use all of it. And we're going to process this. We're going to actually puree it. And you're going to love this. And this is, as I said, this is the best meatloaf I think I've ever had in my life. That was step number one. We pureed the onion and the bell pepper. I mean, look at that, it's just totally pureed. We're going to put that on top of our meat there. That's 2 pounds of ground beef. 80-20, I believe, is what that is. We're just going to put that right in there. You can't even tell it's there. You have the flavor of the onion, you have the flavor of the bell pepper, but you don't have that texture that's such an aversion to so many people, especially kids. Now, we're going to start layering in some ingredients here. I'm going to add a little bit of granulated garlic and a little bit of granulated onion. And that's optional, and I did put some fresh garlic in there, but you don't have to do that either. Secret ingredient here, that's some beef base. You can buy this at Walmart in different versions, or Kroger, or whatever, wherever you. And this is softened, so it's easy to put in there. And then I'm going to take 2 eggs, break those into there. So far, so easy. And these are panko breadcrumbs. That's about a cup. Will work in there. You can add a little more. All this acts as the eggs and the panko act as a binder. And then I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to just mix it all together. I hope you make this recipe. It is absolutely the best meatloaf I've ever had, and I love meatloaf. Put this on a good old sandwich, sourdough bread, some Duke's mayonnaise, and man, you have a feast right there. Forgot to add a little bit of pepper over here. If you want to, that's optional. A little bit of salt. I'm going to take a little baking dish over here. Kind of clean up my mess. And we're going to spray it. It's not fun cooking unless you make a mess. So we're going to fill it up all the way. This is going to go in the oven about 375 degrees, about 30-35 minutes. We'll come back and check it. And while that's cooking, we're going to make our topping, our sauce for the top, which is again optional. Some people like sauce on top, some don't. Now we do a recipe that will put a applesauce on top of this and mixed with a little brown sugar and garlic. And it's really lovely. It's one of my favorites actually. So we're going to put that in the oven, and we're going to come back, clean up a little bit, and we're going to make our sauce. The question is to sauce or not to sauce, and I found over the years some people like sauce on their meatloaf and some don't. So whatever you want, and there's no particular recipe, and I'm not even going to give a recipe for this. We're just going to throw some things together here. Put a little bit of ketchup in there, a little brown sugar over here for a little sweetness, get a little salty and sweet. And then, you know what that stuff is right there. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. We're going to put a little bit of that in there. Sometimes I might even put a dash of hot sauce in that. Now that wasn't too complicated at all. We're going to stir that together. And just before that meatloaf is finished, we're going to cook it about 30-35 minutes. I'm going to go probably at the 20-minute point, and I'm going to put this on top of the meatloaf and let it kind of firm up a little bit and thicken some there in the oven. While you weren't looking, I tasted the sauce, and it has all the elements that I like. It's salty, a little sweet, a little tangy, and I pulled that out of the oven after it browned a little bit. The meatloaf is almost completely done cooking, and we're going to just brown this up a little bit and kind of thicken up this sauce. give it a little more color. So this can go back in the oven about another 10 minutes. We'll check the temperature, make certain it's done, and then we'll come back and make us a meatloaf sandwich. The meatloaf's out of the oven, 375 degrees, about 45 minutes. And when it came out, obviously there's going to be a little bit of fat in it. I drained that out before I brought it in here. And I did cheat a little bit because I didn't have my thermometer. I cut it open just to make certain it was done. So we're good there. But we're going to go ahead and cut a nice little piece over here. And let this cool for about 15 minutes because it's going to be scalding hot, and if you cut it too early, it's just going to fall apart. And this is really looking nice. But I'm going to tell you, my favorite thing in the world with meatloaf is this. Piece of bread, usually sourdough bread, a little bit of Duke's mayonnaise over here. Right on there. Duke's is good on everything, and especially a meatloaf sandwich. Will be very, someone, oh, that's a lot of mayonnaise. It sure is, but man, I tell you, when you have Duke's mayonnaise, you can't ever get enough. I promise you, it's so good. One of the best. And I'm gonna come over here, and we're gonna reach in here and get a nice, generous piece out right there. In fact, it's gonna take 2 pieces to cover up this bread. Doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I'm gonna let that cool a little bit, and that's gonna be my breakfast, lunch, and dinner today. So that's absolutely perfect. I can't take credit for this meatloaf. My good friend Randy Golden, Randy P. Golden, invented this or came up with this recipe. And Randy, I tell you what, if you don't do anything else in life, you hit a home run with this. It's absolutely fabulous. If you learned anything today, if you're going to try this recipe, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, that's very important. And then tell all your friends. But most important of everything that I said today, love to cook, but cook to love. And I'll see you soon on All Things Food with John Woods. Thank you.